Hello and welcome to another episode of UKVersus. I am the player formerly known as Dabby Guy. I am, of course, joined by my esteemed partner Richard Stormblades Plumber, and we are joined today as we talk over the HLC by Pippa of Pippa Ponders and the legendary Tim Cetonis Keith. How are you guys all doing today?
Yeah.
All right. We have a doggo.
Yes, I have my little baby with me.
Sounds very comfy.
So
I was going to say today we're going to sort of chat about HLC sort of main event and possibly the LCQ and just a round table. So like format wise, I think if everyone just sort of gets the floor, brings up a subject we discuss, they move on to the next person. So whether that's like they want to talk about a symbol, whether that's a character, whether that's one of the competitors or a card or an archetype or whatever they want to talk about, and then we'll just sort of go around like that until we're done.
sounds good.
Yeah, sure. If y'all don't mind me starting off, I think we should definitely for sure start at what characters do we expect to go undefeated in Swiss and or be able to easily say they can win the event. I think I have like a few characters up there for me, and the most notable one recently has been Shigaraki 3, being an absolutely monster control deck recently. That is good into aggro as well.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that at the last Winter Clash, right? So we had Crossfade, who's Will Howard. Yeah, he was playing very much a control deck, and then we had Keenan, who was playing like the I'm just going to prominence burn balls to the wall aggro sort of version with, still the control elements of Shigaraki, but with much more I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, the prominence burn one was a lot more aggressive, as William said when we had him on. But Shigaraki 3 is a monster of defense in the long game. It's one I definitely expect to see pop up during LCQs, and I expect a couple of people to even bring it into the untimed rounds because control decks have a field day in untimed rounds.
Yeah, I think one of the weird factors about this LCQ is because of the way it's being done. There's at least some portion of the player base is thinking that a draw is basically going to be the same as a loss. And so any of those sort of control decks might be a little bit less represented than they would be otherwise outside of players that have been really jamming that character. It's like by far their best character. There's no way, maybe they're a little more at a draw risk or something, but it's way better than them playing something else, for instance, right? The Will Howard's probably still going to play Shigaraki, right?
Fair.
And going off the other side of that, you also have the control players, because of how it's been done, who will go, well, I can always go for the cheese tactic of win game 1, control out game 2, and just do the 1-0 all the way up.
Yeah, that's risky though, right?
Yeah, I feel like that sort of game plan is not very viable in this current format because all of the offensive characters can just absolutely blow you out, right? Like, eventually Jiro will find the hand and just kill you uninteractively.
Yeah. Eventually Endeavor 3 will cycle and therefore get mega stats and everything and just kill you. Like, they all have their own sort of version of inevitability. And I think, judging on those results from the recent things, I think, probably two of the more premier, like, aggro ones are going to be Jiro and Endeavor, right? Jiro has always been good, will continue to be good until she rotates, and will continue to be one of, if not probably the best deck in the format. I think, there's a very small amount of decks I think could realistically say, actually, no, I'm the best.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, that's pretty much the shape of the meta right now in a nutshell, at least so far as it seems, right? You have decks like Shigaraki, decks like Hawks, Eraserhead's still around, Jiro 2 has won one of these webcam events, I believe, that are very capable of, if they make it to turn 3, turn 4, they're going to be able to drag the game out a pretty long while. And so the aggressive decks are sort of being filtered down to ones that have some sort of scaling late game, right? Mm-hmm. And Jiro has always been there. And then we also have Endeavor. We're seeing some Mount Ladies have success. But like your classic Tokuyamis, your Ochako 2s, we're seeing a little bit less of that right now because they don't play as well on turn 4. If they get to a late game against Shigaraki, what are they going to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, it's a character identity that Tim has had success with last year, and it is a very aggressive character. I think Bakugo 4 could be an outliner as well. You've got the hand tax, you've got the immediate aggression. If you can get your damage reduction foundations and attacks down early, you can just completely blitz a 7-hander on turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, so I played Bakugo 4 at locals this week. As part of my one check coordinate, so I was playing double front beatdown on Death, and the one check aside, which was amazing, it was a lot of fun, and B, it did some really stupid things. Usually, when it drew 1 or 2 rabble rousings, like I got 2 turn 2 kills where I just went rabble rousing, stun grenade, vial seizing, stun grenade, some sort of combination of those, and they were just.
Yeah, Rabble Rousing is kind of like the quote-unquote Dark Shadow Ruin of this character, where if you hit it, you kind of just win the game, and if you don't, it kind of sucks.
Yep. And didn't really have any card draw because I couldn't really play Latent Skill at being a 2-def. I had like 2 copies. But yeah, I mean, he's a good character. Whether he's good enough to be in that top tier.
Well, what do you think, Tim?
I think that's an interesting one where we get into the difference between the LCQ and the final bracket. Yeah. If your model of the case is that the LCQ is going to have relatively fewer like Shigaraki's Jiro 2s than you might have seen otherwise if it was just a top cut event, then Bakugo 4 is in a little bit of a better shape because in terms of racing other aggressive decks, he's perfectly capable of doing that. Whereas if he faces, Shigaraki with all his card draw has to be a problem for Bakugo 4, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe there's a turn where he doesn't hit it very often and you can get him, right? But and even Hawks after a little bit of time is going to be an 8-hander, right? So
yeah,
it's a little. Bakugo 4 would concern me in that regard in terms of if I think I'm going to face some of those defensive decks, then I don't know if that's where I want to be. But if I think I'm just going to be facing like Jiros and Mirios and Endeavors and stuff, I'll blast them, right? Let's get in there.
Yeah, for sure. There's another character. We mentioned her quite a bit, but Jiro is also poised to be, I would argue, probably top 2 decks in the game right now. She just does incredible aggro really consistently, and her blowout turns are almost unmatched, right?
Yeah. I'd say actually she is the best. She's always been top 5. I don't think there's necessarily been a point in the game where she hasn't been top 5. And just the addition she got from set 6, I think, means she's just the best deck in the room.
I did want to also mention. Oh, you can go to.
Oh yeah, just on Jiro 1. Yeah, I mean, in a format where you're expecting to have other lean aggressive decks that you're racing, and B, get into defensive decks where if you're good enough on turn 2, you can catch them on 2, and if not, you need to have a good late game. Like I said before, that's sort of what Jiro 1 has always been. Mm-hmm. And so the meta has just kind of walked right into what she's already good at. And then she also got a third line, right? She's always been pretty good at having good threat variety where she can beat you in multiple different ways. And now she can also just throw you to death if she's playing a, like 3 zero gravity lift, 3 or 4 falling skies build. That's another element that she has now. That she is particularly good against Shigaraki, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just one more way that she can get you.
Yeah. That's what I was going to mention. I played a throw-based Jiro list with 4 ZGL and 3 falling skies, and it was disgusting the amount of how easy it was to just close out games. Like, I can just do very simple pokes, get you to half health, and then just throw you to death, which was super silly.
Yeah, and apart from the guaranteed damage, it's guaranteed momentum for when you play the 3 or 4 sound waves and then get them. she sort of does everything she wants, and it's that third string. Like she could always do the kind of home run comet, double jab pummel jolt sort of thing. She's then always had like the flash game where she could, maybe sidle into more of the low flash, whose name escapes me, as well as like the sound waves. And now she's got that throw side of it as well. So she's got like these 3 angles of attack, and all of them work.
Yeah, and she can even just slam mids, right?
Mm-hmm.
She can you can be prepared for everything else, and then it's jolt into pummel into spiral wave blast or whatever, and like, well, shoot, I kept all my cheap highs, I kept my cool throw hit blocks, but now it's this, right?
Yeah, I do want to mention as well that as you said, she can play a very solid flash centric game plan, which is super good in this current format, right? Of the other top characters, like Ox can't do anything, Shigaraki can't do anything, Mirio, Eraserhead, all of these characters are just blanked by the Flash game plan, which is something I expect might show up. I think there could be a fusion of like a Flash throw list. But yeah, as Tim mentioned, her threat variety is like ridiculous, and it always has been.
Yeah, I think, going into whether that's the LCQ or whether that's like the main event, like Jiro has to be like, you have to have a good game against Jiro, or, you're playing Jiro yourself and you know how to play the mirror. Like, if your deck can't beat Jiro, then I don't think it's a deck you can take to one of those tournaments.
Well, talking about the main event, aside from the LCQs, we know Philip's going, and Philip got second place with Jiro. Has played Jiro all year, and I can say with complete certainty he is probably going to run Jiro again at this event, because it has just kept producing results for the guy.
Mm-hmm. He won't be the only one.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, like, even though people are going to be gunning for it, right? Jiro's going to have a target in the back. There are people that are going to turn around and say, it doesn't matter. I'm going to play the best deck in the room, and you can bring your hate, and I can probably still power through it, which, and a lot of times, is going to be true.
So, speaking of last year's event and an outliner that sort of like appeared out of nowhere on day 2, what do we think about Recovery Girl making a comeback this year for the main event?
Her game into Jiro is just bad. I don't think you can do it. It's kind of that simple. I'm sure you could tech out your Recovery Girl to try to fight Jiro as best you can, but you don't want to be Recovery Girl against Jiro under almost any circumstances, I don't think.
Yeah.
Fair enough. What about the big threat of the end of last year in Overhaul? How do you think he's holding up in the new meta, wherever he's gone on, I think?
I'm not quite sure what to think of Overhaul. He's certainly still good, but the banning of Back Alley Haymaker really was a significant hit on both of his most prominent symbols, being Earth and Life.
Yeah, I had an Earth build I was tinkering with that I almost brought to Nats that wasn't even running Back Alley Haymaker. It was almost like a low overload kind of idea, which was ultimately in a Mirio format. That's not a real plan, right? Because everybody's prepared for that anyway. But maybe the door is open to something like that, or like you're running Hardened Frenzy and Falling Skies, and then Maximum Overhaul and a couple good low ones. You can build. I know I've tinkered with him a little bit. I kind of want to play him. This is one deck I might switch off and still play, is an Earth Overhaul right now for the LCQ. Because you can really tune an Earth list to hate on Jiro.
With the new Endeavor cards, you get a lot of speed, you get a lot of more power, you get a lot of foundations that mess with their damage and speed.
Well, you get a lot of momentum hate. You can run a whole lot of momentum hate. Just how much do you want to run, and you have a +0 high block in Hardened Uppercut that you can run. And so between those two things, and pulling up, if not having to worry too much about if it's a high chain or a mid chain, because you can go pull a block, right? You can. Yeah, learning the same thing. You can put a lot into an Earth overhaul if your only goal in life is to harass Jiro. The only thing is, how good are you at beating everything else?
What about Evil Overhaul? Because Evil Overhaul did make a splash and sort of like died off, but with the introduction of things like Blue Flame Torment, it could come back to with a bit of vengeance.
Yeah, so I actually have been playing Evil Overhaul, and the deck is so incredibly cool and customizable. The biggest issue is that it can't draw cards reliably, which really is unfortunate considering life has passing the torch and Earth is sometimes starved for cards. Uh, and so you get to run a very potent attack lineup and reliably string out with very strong attacks, right? You get stuff like Maximum Overhaul, you get Tongue Whip, you get Blue Flame Torment. Like all of your entire attack lineup is banger after banger, and you get to play one for free each turn. Like that character is a really solid like aggro to mid-range character. The issue is I don't think he can do much towards the late game. But I'm not sure how relevant that'll be since control is both represented by some of the top characters, but also the rest of the field is also a bunch of mid-range aggro decks.
Kind of since you get you get to do some serious pressure early on, but the longer the game goes on, the bigger that wall gets you up against. And your only real deadlock is Val seizing, and once they're in the bin, your opponent's like, "Yep, I'm just gonna slide right into deadlock."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you do have the classic, like, but you're almost forced to include it because of the situation. You can run the classic "I'm going to loop Nebulous Stare until you die" kind of line, but now that's obviously not very good against the aggro decks that you're expecting to face. So
yeah, it's just like the evil symbol problem, right? Unless you have card draw in your face, you really struggle. Like I really wanted like someone like an evil Tokiyami to work, but it's just like you just don't draw cards, and that's just a problem.
Yeah, Tokiyami does feel a lot less consistent now.
Yeah, I was working a fire build for a while, because plus Ultra Prominence Spread in Tokiyami is very funny, and it gives fire some deadlock that it doesn't have otherwise. Ultimately, it's just the other side is you're a 7-hand size character, and running like 3 barrier shields and 3 new number ones and some lineages and like whatever some speed hate I could find wasn't really enough to stop me from getting like raced out by some aggro deck that just had some sideboarded airy smiles. You can play around it. You can play low. You can always play Summon Dark Shadow after a low attack, right? So you're immune to that. But you can only dodge it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still like Tokoyami is such a potent deck. Like when he hits, he has, I would argue, the best blowout turns, like at maximum potential. Like if he just draws Ruin, Twisting Azure, you're just kind of dead, right? And so I know that Dan Nelson, he's going to Worlds, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. He's #1 Tokoyami fan, so I would not be surprised if he just took it and just tried to blitz through everyone.
I do have it here.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unreasonable sort of position to take, right? You're in a field of 32 excellent players. You need luck to win, no matter what you do. Playing sort of a high roll, I don't think is unreasonable. And Tokiyami is a proven high roll, right? He can high roll with the best. Like what his best symbol is out of Fire and Chaos, I don't know.
It would probably be Chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos
Yeah.
just gets a ton of extra consistency in terms of how he approaches his game plan.
And you get to draw a lot of cards.
Yeah, but Chaos doesn't get to play Prominence Burn, and I love that.
Yeah, Chaos is like you get. I played Chaos at Nats, right? So obviously, I think Chaos Tokoyami is really good. I haven't. That's one of those things where if I had infinite time, I definitely would have revisited it for this format because you get, if you want, right, you can play the new Asui 1/4 and now just get also more speed stacks on all your moves, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that? I think it's rescue specialist.
Yeah.
Yes.
I built a Tokiyama list because I thought, okay, Richard hypes on a lot, so I'll build one, and I put in Blue Flame Torment, put in Rescue Specialist, and the games where you see everything, brilliant, but the games where all
don't.
4 of your Summon Dark Shadows at the bottom of your deck, or the times you just sat there going, I'm gonna just have to sit here and defend because I've only got 2 attacks.
Yeah, and Chaos can be pretty good at sitting there and defending.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on Kraken, you can point out, their best offensive foundation and take that out before you build and pass or whatever. You get Struggling with Studs. You get a lot of good tools. You do not get Barrier Shield, which is why I was messing with Fire. But you do get Encouraging Training Partner. You have some things for sure.
You can't forget Irrefutable as well. You get that one.
Yeah, we get Tim's favorite card.
Yeah, exactly.
Barrier Shield definitely does not get enough love, especially with how beautiful the XR is.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of off Tokiyami a bit, to be honest. And actually, sort of going back to like the Chaos symbol in general, I'm not huge on at the moment. I don't know what it is about it. It just feels like it's not doing enough compared to what a lot of the other symbols are doing at the moment.
I was off the Chaos symbol as well because it didn't feel it was doing as much, but I recently got a ruling that I had to take up with Lenoko as well. That has had me testing Chaos a little bit more because of how Blue Flame Torment and Struggling with Studies interact with each other. So if you have a momentum and you block with Blue Flame Torment, when your opponent plays their second attack, you can flip Blue Flame Torment, have them fail it, and when they play their next attack, you can flip Struggling with Studies and pick it up because Struggling with Studies doesn't care about what's been played. It only cares about how many attacks the turn has seen. So on their second attack, you get to pick up that Blue Flame Torment again and go, let's do this dance all over again. And that combo alone is for me has been, I need to try and test Chaos a little bit more.
Yeah, I certainly think Chaos Tokiyami could be fine. Like I said, we test not as much as other groups do here in Rochester, right? We kind of just do our locals and have maybe like a couple Saturday afternoons or whatever where we throw some stuff at each other. Given infinite testing time, I definitely would have looked at the Chaos Tokiyami.
I think that's going to be a big thing for everyone. I know myself, and I've not spoken much to Philip, but I know Philip is in a similar situation to me that there's not many local players in his area, but he has a couple of friends. So what we can test and when we can test is very dependent on the community around. A big shout out to one of Tim's locals, Cam and Caleb down in Australia, who have been helping me test out during the daytime for GMT. But it's not like I can basically go to you play this really competitive deck against me, because they just want to play what they want to play because it's just pickup games.
You face a lot of Deku 5, I imagine.
No, I can't remember what he was playing.
Endeavor 2? I think it's the other thing he's been on lately.
Endeavor 2, I think there was a couple of Ceros in there as well.
The heck? I'm gonna have to ask him about this.
But no, yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been great just chatting to people about my decks. But let's move on to last year's champion. Do we think we'll see Midnight returning for LCQs or for the main event?
I don't believe so. She isn't positioned like super well. She still plays the hell out of Repeated, but she isn't the best into the current meta because she is very resource intensive in a current metagame that is decently fast paced.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Chaos Midnight, certainly losing One with Nature was a hit on her.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily have to have been her deathbed. It's probably just more of a thing where, like, 3 sets later, she also gets that Asui card, right? She has a little more health than Tokiyami if you're talking about aggro mirrors. She's not netting raw cards. Yeah, I don't know. I think people have been playing this Void Midnight because of what she gets to do with repeated and rejuvenating. I don't know that Chaos Midnight is
people,
strictly bad
me.
now. Well, no, I mean we've seen more than that, but yes,
Yeah.
yes, mainly.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Void somewhat at the moment, but again, that's just a personal preference thing rather than necessarily thinking it's sort of the best. But I think
dangling chat bits saying that there's also a lot more good attacks now that have not nowhere near as many keywords as you do.
Right. That's what I was forgetting. Yeah.
Back Alley's gone, which had the 4 keywords. Tongue Whip's got 1. Maximum Overhaul's got 0. Blue Flame Thomas got 1. I think Hawks has a few, but that have keywords. But yeah, the amount of keywords has definitely dropped on key attacks.
Yeah, for sure.
Apart from Tasty Riff. Tasty Riff has got a lot of keywords.
I don't think Tasty Riff is consistent enough for players to be taken to a big main event, as well as none of the top decks really are incentivized to play it, right? Like Jiro, Hawk, Shigaraki, Amajiki, Eraserhead, all of these characters just don't play Tasty Riff, so I wouldn't expect it to be a big force.
Really? Okay. I mean, okay, so I guess on that, like, what is the best card out of set 6? Like, is it Tasty Riff or is it just Blue Flame Torment? Because I think in my head it's one of those two.
Falling Skies?
Yeah, Falling Skies.
Okay.
Yeah, Blue Flame Falling Skies in terms of attacks. The answer could be a Foundation. I'm like scrolling through now.
First
I mean, something Flustered.
First one's got great defensive potential.
Yeah. League Handlers when we're going to see a bunch. See.
Yeah.
Hell Spider in the Endeavor decks. New number 1's really good right now.
New number 1 preventing sealing. League Handler has kind of replaced Decoy and some Broken Psyche player and Broken Psyche for some players, because it just it definitely slides into Shigaraki 3 because it just goes, you don't get to string out.
Yeah. There's I think Tasty Riff is definitely up there in terms of how strong it is. I just think it's a situation of not being in the meta, in the correct symbols for a place in the meta.
Yeah, we might see more Tasty Riffs in the Challenger character side event. I could see some Tasty Riff spikes going around.
Oh, I've been playing Tasty Riff Bash. That is some of the most fun I've ever had in this game. Want to block the 7 Tasty Riff? No, I guess I'm a bajillion hander.
Nice.
Oh, that just sounds nasty.
So do we not think Jiro 2 is going to be a player at all then? Like, because obviously it did very well, like Jose won with it, right? And like Water Control is still good, right?
Yeah. I don't see why it wouldn't show up. I mean, we've only had one event since the one that Jose won. It was the second winter warm-up, and Jose didn't enter, and just, nobody played Jose. It's kind of a theme. People just don't play Jose's deck. But there's nothing stopping her, really, right?
Yeah, I think she's actually decently well positioned, and I know Jose absolutely loves the deck, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that is what he has been working on and ends up bringing.
My main issue is when I've played against Jiro with other decks. So I've never played the deck, so can't talk about when I played against it. It just seems to struggle with the early game aggro because it's trying to set up its own engines, and if you can disrupt it, it can be a real pain. But yeah, as a 19 healther, primarily I was playing Dabby 1 at the time. If you can get that early damage and you put so much pressure on Jiro that they kind of don't get to recover the same as other characters like 700s like Shigaraki or Headshot.
Yeah, it's in that sort of same world as the sort of Shoto 1, right? That Water, I'm just going to defend, and then I've got inevitability, and it sort of feels like it's taken a bit of that Shoto 1 slot, right? It's got a much better inevitability that doesn't take 17 years to kill. It's maybe only 10 years rather than 17. You don't
have to play a 120 card deck.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the 120 card Kuro Barra decks. That's going to be fun. Well, I did just mention him, so one of the other 700s I know a lot of people have been very hyped on is Edgeshot, because you get to build out so much early on, and because of how much mid combat phase reviewing there is, his attacks just get ridiculously big with no real cost to resources.
Yeah, that character is for sure really good, and I know he's on people's radars due to his recent success. I think he definitely can play both game plans incredibly well, just by building out like a madman and defending, and then when he goes in, if he has the hand, he's just like everything gets 3/3, everything gets 4/4, everything gets 5/5, right? Which makes him just like overwhelming from a numbers perspective.
Kind of similar to the old Tokiyami, as we were talking about. When they go in, their attacks get bigger and bigger, but he doesn't have to rely on seeing the actions. He just has to pitch foundations from his hand.
Yeah, and he's still allowed to play Barrier Shield, right? And he has
that's the important thing.
He has -1 speed when he wants it. Right, you get the -1 block mod on his non-attack cards, which isn't quite -1 speed, because you're gonna block with attack sometime, but
yeah,
he has more defense than a Tokoyami, and his offensive output. So you do need to find your reviewed triggers, right? Yeah. But that's more than just like forwards. And Tokoyami doesn't. Depending on the list, Tokoyami doesn't necessarily have to find Ruin either, but you have to be sort of toning down your attack base to not be mono 5 diffs, right?
And as you were just saying, he reduces non-attack difficulty in bot mod, so playing a late game Barrier Shield is a lot easier, so you can hold it a lot longer. When they played the last attack, rather than having to go, it's on a 5 or a 6, you go, yeah, it's on a 3. I'm just going to reduce your 0 and give it break, and the next one break 2. Let's go.
Yeah, it's that like. I like the void defensive package of things like Barrier Shield and so forth. I think Edgeshot plays it well. I think in the similar vein to sort of the sort of void lurkers thing. Like I'm a big fan of Mount Lady and what she does. Like again has that inevitability. At locals I got blown the heck up by Mount Lady by just 2 games getting a. I think it was like a 12 damage Titan Cliff being made unblockable. I think she's actually genuinely very good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like she falls into the broad category of 6-handers that murder you.
Yeah. And if she doesn't check enough 5s to kill you on 2, right? She can, unlike say Endeavor, whose damage output before he cycles is a little suspect. Mount Lady's damage output is fine the whole time. She's playing 6 diffs and 5 diffs, right? So she'll need to. But if she finds the cards and checks running 5s on 2, you can just die.
Yeah, she see 1 Titan Cliff or 1 Canyon Cannon and she's online, right?
Yeah.
And once she gets those 5 counters and you're having to commit something every attack, that's essentially +1 speed to every attack that comes after it.
Yeah, and there's something to be said by having all that cycling, all that reviewing, just means the moment you see one piece, you're going to see the rest because of that consistency it gives you.
She definitely avoids the 6-hand problems if she sees 1 attack.
Yeah. And she's fetching up more speed with the number 23 Pro Hero, something we saw the Muscular deck doing. Yeah, I think, broadly speaking, in terms of like the aggro decks that I expect to be the bulk of the sort of well-refined aggro decks are going to be Jiro, Endeavor, and Mount Lady, in my opinion. And of course, there'll still be some Mirios too, I would assume. But outside of that, you'll have some people's pet decks, but you're not going to have. I guess there's maybe Toga 3 is the new Shigaraki, where there's just always going to be an army of Toga 3s at every event.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll have some Shoto 4s and some Bakugos and stuff that people have been working on, right? But they're not going. People who weren't playing them the whole time aren't going to suddenly go to them over one of the other 3. I don't think.
No, I think Toga 3 will see more of a rise once Yu Yu Hakusho comes out and
clearly
we get out.
So crazy. I've been absolutely pleased with all of the reveals. That this isn't a podcast for that, but I'm so beyond hyped for Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, the ones that came out today from David and from the main deck channel, Let's Talk UVS and the main deck. Go check them out because we got another Team Row UK reveal with Stern Matters, and Toga 3 is just going to eat up all those cards. But let's stay on focus. That's it for after the HLC. Tim briefly brought him up, and he did have success at the winter warm-up. How do we feel about Muscular? Now he's got all these new things, including Falling Skies.
No. No.
It was a storm in a bottle. Like, I still think, he may have had success. I still genuinely think he's like bottom 5 characters in the game.
I think Michael Ever himself has said, I'm not doing this again. And that's, I may be misremembering, right? That may be somebody else who was trying him out. But that's sort of, I'm sure people have tried him. I think we'd be hearing more noise about him if some other people had tried him and been like, no, wow, this guy's actually really good.
Yeah.
Just, go ahead.
I don't know why I was saying this when that happened, but he could just be playing Nomu and be infinitely better, right? Like doing the exact same game plan, but just doing it at a baseline better level.
Yeah, I mean, give or take, he's never going to get, Nomu's never going to give his 4 diffs plus 10 damage, right? No. But
yeah, still,
a lot of the same stuff going on, right?
Yeah, you still get the same damage reduction count in enhancements, stuff like that. Because, you can take 6, but if you could make it a 2 damage attack, that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't get to make Falling Skies a gigantic throw, right? There are things that Muscular does better, but I think you get a lot of value out of people not understanding what your deck's doing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And this is sort of the cat's out of the bag. I don't know how many people that are traveling to the HLC are going to get got by that.
Getting to build on every damage as well is pretty good because it's kind of what helped Recovery Girl get that last year as well.
Yeah, he has a bit of acceleration, which is nice. But I would expect for no Musculars to make an appearance.
No, someone might run it at the LCQ, but I do not see anyone at the top.
Nope.
I am going to go ask all 200 people that take part and find one Muscular so I can send it to Pippa.
Nope.
But yeah, I mean, on that subject, on the aside, I think Nomu's sneaky a good pick. And he's always been there or thereabouts. Has always been good, but Nomu has always been tough for me. As playing things like those aggro characters like a Jiro or a Tokiyami. He's always sort of struggled against them. And just as does the Nomu thing of here's a bajillion damage and it takes you a while to kill me. And it just feels like that kind of knuckle draggy almost game plan of I'm just gonna smash you to bits. Is probably pretty good.
Your 13 damage Falling Skies is now a 6 damage. However, here's my zero gravity.
Well, damage
rush.
Muscle Mauler.
Yeah, here's my zero gravity rush, which is a 12/12.
Yeah, and he plays the heck out of
calorie counter.
That's the Badger. And he can play like a overhaul, like a low overload, rapid punches, that sort of thing. Hard and chop. He's always very brutal when Nomu flings those at you.
If you want to get very spicy, you could run Barrier Shield on Evil.
I mean, losing back alley certainly hurt in terms of the resource generation for him, right? Of him being sort of a real 5-hander, so it's sort of finding a way around that.
Well, I can play a 6 diff that draws in 2 cards, right?
Yes. You can also play Hellflame Spider and give all your attacks speed for the turn, which is something Nomu has been lacking. So you go, all my attacks are harder to block and coming at you with much bigger damage.
But yeah, it would not surprise me to see, several Nomus in that 32 list.
Yeah, well, in the 32, I guess you'd have to survey the players and try to be like, all right, this person might play a big defensive deck, this person's probably not, that kind of thing. But Nomu's problem has never been beating, fighting off Giros and making her life kind of difficult. It's always been, well, I faced somebody that decided they're not going to let me kill them. Well, shucks.
It'll be the Hawks players that just keep launching the feathers and nothing else. Go, I'll keep these 6 cards in my hand and just keep hitting you for free till you die.
Yeah. Nice 0 high 10 gravity rush. You're about to make a 10 high 10. It's a 10 high 0 now. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. How real do we think Hawks is? Because from reveal season for set 6, my reaction, and I think a lot of people's reaction, was just like, eh. And I was not high on him at all. But he's been putting out results, and it feels like a lot of people are pretty high on him. And I'm fairly certain, like, David is going to be playing Hawks. Like, he's put his cards on the table with that one.
He has been posting in the main Discord looking for all the Hawks XRs. So
I think he's playing it.
Yeah.
He said that he's playing it, and like the deck is really good. It's kind of like a Racerhead, where you almost have options to everything, and he's not a squishy 7-hander.
No.
So he's kind of taken in that role of like a control-ish deck that he also has like incredible blowout potential with a gigantic Recipro Burst.
And it's also the case of similar to Razorhead stuff. You can get your speed down, but then he can also just zero out one of your attacks. So he goes, yeah, get it to zero down to speed, and then I'll switch it out. Boom.
He's another deck with really good threat variety. It can just be 1.3, right?
Yes.
It can be like tickling you to death with feathers. Actually, it can be the Recipro Burst play. It can be a late game feather control loop. I played him. I made tops in the Winter Bash with him, and I lost to a Giro getting the all mids line on me, which I was holding high blocks and like, well, mid, okay, but you can have those games where the feathers go MIA, and that's kind of rough. But like overall, the only real reason I put him down was because he's a bit of a draw threat, and I have to go to the LCQs. If I was going straight into the bracket, I might still be playing Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Shigaraki 3 and stuff like that. If you play your first attack against block with a breaker, you go, cool, feather. I'll absorb the breaker, and do you really want to waste one of your cards blocking this 3 damage attack?
Yeah.
However, I am as good as Elasticity's stun hate is, it's brilliant for taking on Hawks. You just go, block it, your next one gets -3 damage, play that feather.
Yeah, I really like Elasticity as a card.
Yeah, I'm not too high on its stun hate, because a lot of the stun right now isn't actually the stun keyword, but there are plenty of decks that are happy to have the +/-3 anyway.
Yeah.
Just the combination of both, I think, does enough that I really enjoy it.
So since purchasing my Chrome, I've been playing a lot more Dabby 3, and I hate Hawks because it just completely negates your actual enhance, because you don't get to get the speed. But being able to Elasticity and just go, damage is a big issue for this Dabby, but boom, my next one gets +3 damage, let's go.
Yeah.
So is there a symbol we think won't appear in that top 32? Like, just out of those, ones there. Like, symbols that are effectively almost unplayable at that kind of top level. Like, there's probably one that springs out, which would be all.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I think all UQ is still just fine.
Yeah.
I think that's still a playable deck. So you could see it in that context. All does have airy smells. All's in that place where it has a bunch of tools, and it's hard to assemble into like the main picture.
Exactly. Something needs to happen for all of these scattered pieces to morph into the Megatron, right?
If someone now brings an all one punch all might 4, I'm going to be very upset.
I think all could.
You go.
Yeah, all could be the symbol if you want to play All Might 3. There's a case
Yeah.
to play him off the all symbol for sure.
I think
Yeah.
my biggest issue is that Ald hasn't gotten like one of the generically good characters, right? Like all of the all characters are kind of trying to do their own little thing.
Yeah. Well, for those that talked to me last year at the last HLC, I was testing out an all midnight deck, which I was having a lot of fun with, but it just didn't win.
Yeah. It's a super cool symbol, but not quite there.
Before we go too
Yeah.
deep into symbols, there's one last character I would like to touch on that hasn't really seen much play, but could be a bit of like a dark horse, and that is Shoto 4.
Oh yeah, that character is crazy. I hate that guy. He turns off all of your interaction and says, "All my moves are gigantic. Catch them without any speed hate." It is one of the most obnoxious aggro decks you can face, and I'm flabbergasted that he hasn't seen more results because people aren't playing him because he's boring.
Yeah, that's and boring's kind of what you need at the LCQ and the HLC to get it up there. But I played against Kai at one of the webcam events that Patriots do, and I was playing Derby 1 because I was just wanting to chill out and like get back into the game physically. And my decoy got turned off. My broken psyche got turned off. Nice try got turned off. Graceful maneuvers got turned off. I'm sat there and this is like the turn 2 attack run for him, and I just lose so much on my board straight away. It's like, I have to just raw block stuff. This is not fun.
I think some number of people got spooked by the move to 60 cards. Because he does, if he doesn't specifically find another one of his seals, then he's sealing one thing and giving his moves, +1/+1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a second seal to get to +2/+2. So he's a little bit of like, I was messing with the water build, which was not the answer, right? It's been testing fire. But it is a little bit of like, you're committing to this turn, and they pull the barrier shield on you, and you've burned your flip seals and stuff like that, and now you have to go refuel somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very dependent on hitting the correct things.
It's a very Shoto. It seems to be a very Shoto theme of I have to play this very specific kit. It seems to be like his character arc for all 4 characters.
Well, Shoto 3 wasn't a real character.
Yeah, but his good ones are very impressive. It's like a lot of these aggressive 6-hand size decks in this format. His good ones are insane. Like, what was I supposed to do about this? And then it's just a matter of like, of those 6-hand size aggro characters, which one do you feel is going to have the most consistency, the most the best long game? And Shoto's long game, if he his good one probably works at any stage of the game. So that's something that he has going for him, but so does Endeavors, so do Mount Ladies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
on his symbols, he's got very good breaker blocks. He's got very good deadlock. It is very good long game, and early game, as Pippa said, he can just completely blow you up by turning off your entire board early. I think it's that mid game where his foundations have started to flip. He's not seeing the bomb attacks because he burnt through them early, that he starts to struggle a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think that's it, right? It's the consistency with him. Like, I think some of these other 6-hazard aggros just do what he's doing, in a very similar way. Maybe not go as high as he can, but just do it a lot more consistently.
But going back to the symbols, I think Evil will be one of the highest represented because it got so many good cards, and Shigaraki 3 is, as Pippa said, a complete powerhouse at the minute.
Yeah, we'll see how many people pick that deck up. That's going to be interesting because like Will Howard won with it. I believe Keenan is casting, and Will Howard's going to be in the LCQ. So out of that top 32 bracket, how many of them are going to say, Shigaraki's the one I want to play? Or are they all scared off by the Jiro throw lines, right? For instance.
Or just the amount of practice you need with that deck to realistically take it to that sort of an event. Like, it's not a deck you can go in cold. Like, some of them you could probably pick up and sort of brute force your way to an extent. But I don't think Shigaraki 3 is a deck you can remotely do that with. Like,
no, Will's been playing Shigaraki 3 since Shigaraki came out. He's got the games, and he's got the reps, he's got the mastery under it. I think for a lot of people, there are going to be a lot of players. I wouldn't be surprised if Broberg or Jose could just pick up a Shigaraki 3 deck and immediately know how to palette it. But a lot of players, myself included, could pick up this list and go, I'd need about 3 months of playing this in order to play it as well as Will could play it.
Yeah. The deck is super high ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, the people that have been around long enough that, you know, the longer you've been around, the more likely it is you've played something like this before, right? And you can sort of based on that a little bit. I don't know if I've played anything quite like Shigaraki 3. I mean, obviously I played Pharaoh Man, but that's not the same kind of deck.
Yeah.
I played Vega in the Retro for Nationals, and it's very similar, but in Retro you have so many... Vega Time Stop is still my favorite. Time Slot is still my favorite combination to go. But that's...
And Will Howard was a big Vega guy too.
Yeah.
So, you know.
He's the one that got me onto Vega for Retro. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we've talked about, like, you know, the bigger characters, most obvious ones. I guess if everyone was to pick a dark horse, right? Someone that's maybe not on people's radar, that maybe people are, like, keeping under wraps for the event, like, that's going to appear and maybe do well in that top 32. Anyone got anyone that they're thinking?
You know, I mentioned All Might 3 before. You know, if we're talking about you can play Airy Smiles, and you are in a good position to take advantage of Hawks and Shigaraki in particular, right? Holding a whole lot of cards.
Yeah, and you.
So I wouldn't be surprised if not off of all, even off of Air. Like, there's been a lot of people. I've seen a bunch of people trying Air All Might 3.
Yeah, you still get the punch packages. You still get your hard and uppercuts, which allow you to have your zero high block. You still get to play your Texas Smashes. You still get to run the Valiant Assaults, which allow you to keep drawing yourself. So yeah, you know, all is a very good symbol, and you throw hate through Nitai Foundations. You still get your It Can't Be Fixed. You still get Deadlock with Prehensile Tail. Yeah, all is I hadn't followed it, but that's really good.
Yeah, and you get Polar Punches, I think was what you're looking for there, but yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, well, you get Prehensile Tail for the throw as well, but yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have all.
It doesn't have all, okay. But Daniel in chat saying he's not playing Tokiyami.
Yeah, that's valid.
Do we count that as like an exclusive insight? Because I would have been on there with you going, Daniel is 100% Tokiyami.
Big fan.
If Philip,
he's played Eraserhead before. Yeah, if Philip not playing Jiro would be the big shock, I think.
My disappointment is day one of the HLC last year. Daniel was my only defeat, and I wanted to get my revenge against the Tokiyami, and now I can't.
I tell you, want to put One with Nature back in that thing? You want to put One with Nature back in that thing?
I didn't
get your full revenge.
I didn't run One with Nature in my Debbie.
Yeah, but Dan had it.
Yeah, but Daniel did. Yeah, he didn't need it against me. Both our games were overturned too. That was just a complete slaughter. Daniel, we both played really well, but Daniel just absolutely slaughtered me there, which is kind of what led to my round 2 against Zane, just being like, I'm just gonna play my entire hand and go, if you can kill me, you kill me. But no, I'm really excited to see Daniel again. I'm really excited to see. There's quite a few people. There's like 4 or 5 people that qualified twice.
Yeah, from the UK and the EU.
Well, I'm the only one from the UK. Philip, Philip's mainland Europe.
Yep. So you and Philip, and then Zane from OCE. Yeah,
Zane,
and then
OCE, Daniel. Did Jose qualify?
Jose.
Yeah, Jose.
Yep. Then Jose. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's a few.
Travis Tangeman.
Travis
and
Tangeman,
Corey. It's like 7 or 8. The it's not that surprising that they're changing the system for next year. Yeah. I'm sure they had a lot more faith in their single tournament outcomes being more deterministic than they necessarily are.
And the fact you can qualify by hourly now is going to be really cool, especially if they still covering transportation for it. If you qualify for hourly, it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, we should try to get confirmation from them that they're still going to cover travel
Oh,
for 64
yeah.
people.
Next weekend,
it's
I'm going
important.
to be harassing them about that. I'm going to be harassing them if I can qualify for regionals through webcam events, because if I can't, then I'm kind of like in an issue where I can't qualify for any regionals, apart from driving 3.5 hours each way to go see Richard a couple of times a month.
Yeah, and I don't really want you to do that.
Yeah, it's once every 3 months or something, like whatever the seasons are. But yeah.
So William touched on it when we had him on about Shigaraki 3, and we are going to talk about all aspects of the game. So abilities on cards, and we've touched on it with things like Fallen Skies and stuff. How big do we think Throw is going to be?
Brett, honestly, Brett, so rude.
How big do we think Throw is going to be as a LCQ and HLC mechanic?
It's really weird because we expect a lot of these Gyros to have throws, and I think Pippa's green on and off, but Hi. Are you attempting to speak, or is your Discord just picking up? Okay,
no,
sorry.
It's just bugging.
Sorry. But yeah, because Jiro's running throws, you're gonna have people packing their throw hate, whatever they have. But Shigaraki doesn't actually have any. So it's sort of like
control.
Yeah. In Control is a cool one. It doesn't help against Falling Skies, but
that's true.
It is a nice one. So it's like, do I want to run throws knowing that a lot of people are planning for throws?
I think at least everyone in the sideboard will have throw hate, just because you should always have throw hate in your sideboard.
Yeah, I'm main decking it. Or do you want to run the throws because they're good against some of these defensive 7-handers that don't have good throw hate, right? It doesn't really help you against Jiro 2, but against Shigaraki, I think it's still good against Eraserhead. I don't remember if he has anything off of Void. Yeah.
Void. He gets spooky still.
He gets spooky. He gets Trainer with Gunhead, Confused. That's pretty much it. It's not great.
Yeah, those are cards he could be playing, but you don't see them played too much. I mean, people should be playing Spooky more. That doesn't mean they actually are.
Why do you need to play Spooky when you can just play Hawks?
Say Hawks gets it on face, so a 0 grav left against Hawks just gets feathered and then flipped to do 0, right?
Yeah, I had a Hawks Jiro match on stream, and it was he was on the throw build, and I was just like, man, those CGLs are doing nothing.
Yeah.
I do not care about your 0 gravity lifts at all.
Yeah, you've kind of got to wait for them to use the ability, but by that point, your 0 gravity lift is so high and progressive.
Yeah.
But going back to Richard's question about symbols.
No, this was talking about a sort of dark horse character. Everyone had if they wanted to pick. Yeah. I don't know. What about you, Pippa?
So, I think that Asui 3 could make a sneaky appearance right now. She has infinite cards, quote unquote, right? And so she just needs to find a way to infinitely block, which under the water symbol, under the chaos symbol, is pretty easy to do. And she just can opt to never die, right? She is. She does struggle in the early game if she can't find her speed hate, and if the moves are just big. But I would not be surprised for her to turn up in a few quantities, right?
Yeah.
Because Chaos, you get the breaker blocks, you get the card stuffing with things like Cheerful Uppercut, which you still get in water. Then you get Struggling with Studies, you get Graceful Maneuvers, Nice Try.
Release.
Creeped Out, Release. You get, if you want to go complete outright field, you can play Cool Student to use your momentum to even make your blocks even better.
I think she's really cool. She just needs to figure out how to kill people. That's her biggest issue. She can sure play a lot of moves, but they're only +1 damage, and she doesn't have the most potent lineup either. Like, she gets Tongue Whip on water, which is huge. But other than that, it's kind of unsure how she ends up getting there.
I've done a
Listen, comment.
lot of testing with Asui 3 on Chaos, just because I got hyped on the using it as a replacement for Petty Squabble that Tokiyami was able to do, where you could just keep readying it with Crow and Frog.
Yes.
Because every
Petty
block
Frog.
now, you just get to keep readying up.
Yeah.
And
She has a lot of very interesting directions.
Yeah.
Asui's one of those that she had a lot of hype when Jetburn first came out, and it sort of fizzled after an event or two. But one of the things about these LCQs and about this the main bracket itself is, not only are we post ban, and we've only had like 2 significant tournaments post ban. Not unquote. So they're webcam tournaments. So what I'm getting at here is we have only seen what the people that are willing to play in webcam tournaments are doing, right?
Yeah.
We do not know what somebody that's been jamming Asui 3 since release and just like isn't going to play on webcam might have.
The big thing for me with Asui 3 is something that Mike Hardiman pointed out to me during that's his weekly shout out, is first of all, what do you do if your opponent just goes, yeah, I'll take the first attack, and doesn't block until they feel they have the need to, and you just lose that +1. And the second one is you're kind of incentivized to block everything, which leads you into tongue whip traps, where you go, oh, I've overextended my card pool trying to block and keep drawing and sculpting in their turn, and now I just die.
Yeah. I feel like in that sort of scenario, she kind of does a similar thing to Jiro, where her offense turns are very ambiguous in terms of how she is going to structure them and what she's going to follow through with, right? Like, if you just take the first attack, okay, I can just build out, block on your turn, take my free momentum and set up for a future attack. Or if you don't block, she can just like string out and eventually get there, right? And if you do block, then she can just be like, okay, I'll draw my cantrip card and build out or keep going, right? Like, she is very unusual in terms of how you want to approach defense with her.
Yeah.
The
best
defense
success
playing against her.
The best success I've had with Asui is Meteor Shower loops. So you get that early momentum with things like Zero Gravity Lift, and you just Meteor Shower, then you play another one, kick it to the discard, put it into your momentum, and you can sort of like use her discard ability to loop Meteor Showers, but then you are telegraphing that you're just playing your highs are your kill condition.
Yeah.
Asui's just his character been so up and down on, right? Like, again, there was always hype, and then I was like, does she actually kill anyone ever? Like, yes, she draws some cards and puts 1 damage and stuff and does some cool things, but does she actually kill anyone? Like, yeah, you can defend, but like, but there's enough there, right? There is a puzzle there to be cracked, but I certainly haven't cracked it, and I think if anyone has, then we'll see it at the HLC, right? Like, I think, the words on her face are really good, and there is something there you can do something with, but it's a puzzle someone needs to crack, and that ain't me.
It's also a character that feeds into what Tim was saying about All Might 3. It sits there drawing cards, and you go into All Might's turn, it's like, yeah, +5 and everything, let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like a dark horse, I would pick Mimic would be the one that I think might see a showing. Like, Mimic still does messed up things, right? He breaks a fundamental rule of the game, and whenever sort of someone breaks a fundamental rule of the game, that there's something good there. Like, he just picks up the cards. He can play that sort of evil throw game if he wants to. We've seen what he can do with like twisting on Chaos, and like, I'm sure he can do value stuff on Earth. And there's a lot of powerful assets out there that are very much worth playing, right?
You've got the new Imperial Tea
surroundings.
You've got the new build new Imperial Tea from Gentle that just builds itself.
Yeah. So again, it's a puzzle I've not tried to sort of solve, but I think it's certainly one of those puzzles someone may have put a lot of time in to try and solve for it, because there isn't that much asset hate. I mean, I know we've got Hacker Extraordinaire, a card I think we'll see a certain amount of play. I wouldn't be surprised, but he's just one of those characters. Again, he does a fundamentally unfair thing, and if you can find a way of bending that unfair thing to sort of win you games, then
It's
again
also,
a puzzle that
it's also
someone other than me can solve.
with the rule change, it's also one of the characters that's kind of not been affected by the 60 cards because you go from a 19-19-19 to a 20-20-20.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want your wish to be. He also got some help from the Hawks kit.
Mhm.
The relaxed demeanor, putting and attacking your discard pile means you get to run a boat ton of like 1x attacks and just go put the one you want in your discard pile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evil Mimic, I've put a lot of time on that character, and cool lad, he got so much from Jetburn. In terms of the things that are relevant to him are incredibly relevant. And I have full faith in this character. I know Phil Birch is going to Worlds and he loves this character. So I think that's a really good pick as well. As like you weren't expecting it, but he could certainly blow up a large portion of the tournament.
Yeah.
I've tested Mimic on Chaos because of internet sensation, because that just goes, yeah, one extra damage isn't great, but it can make the difference when all your attacks get that little bit of extra damage. Have we had Pippa's Dark Horse?
Yeah.
Oh, you had.
Yeah.
I don't believe Tim had.
Yeah, it was all Might 3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tim
yeah.
I'll throw in a bonus one.
Yeah, go for it.
Uh-huh.
We've seen some noise out of Coda.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's certainly, his thing has always been, if the game goes long enough, I'm going to win.
Mhm.
So he's more or less got that covered. It's just a matter of can he tussle in an early game against some of the more aggressive decks.
We know Mr. Hardiman has been playing him in the webcam events and is going to hopefully be attending the LCQs. So
Yeah, and I think Greg's going over as well, and both him and Greg have done very well with that. Well, Greg obviously, was a competitor last year and did very well with Ryukyu in the first event, and then I think was close in the second one with Coda.
And it was definitely one that Will Howard, when he was on the stream, was saying was caught him off guard, and he was a lot more prepared for in this event, because it just sort of like took him by surprise how efficient Coda was.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to have to pick a character. I probably should have done. Well, in terms of characters I think are going to turn up, they may not do well, but given the sneaky little bits that they've been given, I'm going to go Mina 2. For the LCQs, if she draws hot, she can just completely wipe you out turn 2.
Yes.
Yeah. She's definitely in the category of 6-hand-sized characters that kill you.
Yeah.
I played against Caleb. His turn 1 build was breakdancing, 0 foundation.
Oh, you're dead.
Yeah. Turn 2, you die.
You're just dead.
You are just You don't get to play the game.
Me when I die.
But yeah, and I think it's just a character that's. As Richard knows, I've always been hyped up on the Mina characters, and Mina 2 is one I've always wanted to be good. Even pulling an alt art from the Jetburn pre-release kits, I absolutely love her, and I really hope she does get some representation. I just don't want to face her. It's
Yeah.
You see the build, you go, yeah, I'm just gonna die, yay.
Yeah. I guess if I had a bonus one, I'm surprised we didn't talk about him very much, but Amajiki is also pretty up there in terms of where he ranks in the metagame.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything obviously in the last couple of events, but again, it might be one of those people keeping things under wraps, or
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty open. He's one of the decks I might bring. He is a little. The problem with him is that you don't have a whole lot on turn 2 going second, unless you have one of your like foundations that go to momentum, and then you can be okay. And so that's a little bit spooky, but everything else he's pretty good.
Did he get much from Jetbird? I haven't really thought too much about what he got from that set.
I'm just gonna thumb through my deck.
Yeah, Tim. Well, give us the sauce.
La Brava.
Brava.
Labrava.
Ooh,
Brava.
that's a big one.
That's,
Yeah.
that's a spicy one.
Yeah. That's the spiciest one. There's a couple other ones I have in here, but I'm on like a 1x Twisted Love to cover my low blocks and get some charge speed reduction.
Yeah,
Yeah, Labrava.
While we've got some of the best and brightest brains here, and it's a card that I have been testing in my Dabby 3 deck because of the rule change to Momentum. Dreaming of the Reward, the foundation lets you commit and block from Momentum. Now, before you couldn't look at your Momentum for it, so a lot of people just writ it off. But
As we all simultaneously
Google.
Hey, I know Dreaming of the Reward. I know
Yeah.
it because I played the Toga deck that was just trying to Howitzer Impact Cyclone loop you.
Yeah, so yeah, Dream of the Reward is one of the promo provisional cards, and it has a twice Toga enhance that is never going to get used apart from by Pippa. But you can
that response is just good. If you're one of those characters, you should absolutely be playing this.
and then you commit the foundation to reveal one Momentum, which before you couldn't look at it, so you had to try and remember, but now you can look at it, and you just go, yeah, I'm gonna block for Momentum for this attack.
Yeah, I think that
pretty
card
good
is like really sneaky good right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running it in Dabby 3 just as a one-off, so I can go Blue Flame Torment, and they go, oh cool, they're not gonna block with it, and then you go, ha ha, block with it anyway. Do you want to keep attacking so I may pick it up with Struggling with Studies, and we can do it all again next turn?
Yeah, for sure.
I like my cute little combos. Probably not gonna do that at the HLC, but I'll be probably playing around with that on the Friday and Thursday.
Oh, you're gonna be locked into the interview room on Friday, right?
Yeah.
It's an hour, and I'm pretty sure they're probably going to want to speak to Grant and the other people more than me because they're the old heads returning in my group. But yeah, it's just a card that I sort of looked at, and I was just, as soon as we had people here, just thoughts on Dreaming of the Reward.
Yeah.
Full option.
It's a cute little one-off in my deck, and I was like, yeah, I like it. It's not a character, but it's definitely a dark horse card I'd say, look, be prepared for. By me.
So yeah, we got anything else you guys wanted to bring to the table?
Well, there's one aspect we haven't looked at, which is the 28 players. We've talked about them briefly, but who are your picks? Who are the people that you're going to be kind of not exactly rooting for, but are you going to be surprised if they drop into the bottom bracket early?
I mean, it's just Jose, isn't it? Right?
Well, no,
Yeah.
because you've got Daniel, you've got Zane, who is top number 4. You've got Philip. You've also got David, Liam, and Brandon, who are the national champions.
Yeah, it's just Jose though.
Yeah.
Jose, my
I mean,
beloved.
having said that, Zane is an incredible player, right? I played against him at last year. You know, he consistently sort of either tops or wins everything in Oceania, and yeah, he's very, very, very good. So he would not, and like he got top 4 last year, so it would not surprise me at all to see him make another deep run. You know, Philip could very well luck sack his way with Giro again.
It wouldn't surprise me if Zane has kind of like taken over his and Brandon's training for what they're going to play, because he did it with James for Nationals. They both played Overhaul Killer Tokiyami. Brandon went on to win it with Mirio, was it? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
so and because Brandon is the owner of Zane's local store, it would not surprise me if they both play something similar.
I would not be surprised if the Oceania guys all turned up with the same list.
I don't think my dark horse pick is Young. He's still relatively new to the game. It's great to see him there, but I tested against him for Nationals along with Addy, and he is a very good player that plays a lot of lines and a lot of cards that people do not expect. He kept me on my toes throughout our practice games, and I would not be surprised if he does do very well at the HLC, despite only been playing the game since Undaunted Raid.
Yeah, Uyong, I forget if it was Flesh. I think it was Grand Archive. It might have been Flesh and Blood, but I think he's had some high placements in that game. And no game is quite like UKVersus, but Grand Archive has a skill cap to it. So if someone's doing well at those events, they're probably going to be pretty good at any game.
Yeah, it's like Philip. Obviously, he did very well last year. I think UKVersus isn't his main game. I believe it's Force of Will still.
Wow.
One of the 4 people.
Who plays that?
One of the 10 people left playing Force.
Yeah, but I think he's consistently travels to Japan to play in Worlds there, and is qualified every year, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
the thing about saying it's just Jose is if Jose is locked onto Giro 2, it's definitely the prove this wasn't one event that you won with it, right? Because we haven't seen a bunch of people flocking to that deck. I'm sure some people have tried it out. Maybe some people have found that either they don't like it for XYZ or they're just not playing it the way Jose plays it, which is probably also true. And so and people are going to be preparing for it if the mentality out there is oh, it's just Jose, right? Everyone's going to check their Giro 2 matchup. Mm-hmm. So if he gets it, he's going to earn it, for sure.
It's also one of those pressure things of anyone who comes up against Jose, who is arguably the best player along with Broberg in the game at the minute, you're going to have that initial play of I'm playing against Jose. I've got to play my A game here.
Yeah, but I think sure, but also these are in theory the 32 best players in the world, right? They've all qualified for the Hero League Championship. They've all they've got their seat at the table. They all deserve it. So
I'd say 31 and me, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we know you luck sucked your way there. I wasn't including.
Yeah, I mean, asserting that David Toombs, Phil Birch, George Shades, all the names on this list are not capable of winning a match against Jose is insane, right? Anyone can beat anyone at this tournament. I want to say my pick is actually just whoever comes out of the LCQ has gone in and already demonstrated that they have picked a deck that is good for this meta, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where some number of people in the bracket are just gonna miss, right? They're just gonna misread or whatever, have a deck that's not what it felt like it was in testing, or etc. So I would almost not against the field, right? It's not a 50% chance that one of the 5 LCQ people is gonna win, but I would give them better odds than the main bracket itself, just because they would have already demonstrated something.
I'm very happy my interview is early on, I think my media day is 10 o'clock, so I can come back for the later rounds and I get to see yourself, Broberg, Tam, all these massive names.
You think I'll be up there? Okay.
All these massive names of the community that are considered really good players, legends of the games, the old guard, who surprised everyone by not actually getting a top cut, but your nationals was so competitive. It does make sense. But yeah. I can't. For me, the LCQs to watch is more exciting than the dauntingness of having to play the next day.
Yeah, my nationals, I lost to 3 people who qualified. Right, that's just how that can go. So
I'm assuming they're all just playing a Chaco too, right? Because that's just what you lose to all the time.
I didn't catch that.
So I was saying, I'm assuming they're all playing a Chaco too, right?
Oh no. No. I lost to Phil with his Mimic. Kind of just got thrown out in my 7-hander. I lost to Dan in a Tokiyami Mirror, Dan Nelson, and I lost to Dylan Bowman, just kind of capture evildoers, band carding me out of the event.
I mean, your stream game against Phil Birch, where is still seared into my mind because you not only breaked the man's board, you breaked his soul and just ended his entire
that's Mitch. Yeah, that's another one. That was one of those. It was going to be a coin flippy kind of match. Mitch could certainly be one of those people coming out of the LCQs for sure. Yeah. He's been working his tail off on that Giro list. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different from what people are expecting in some fashion.
Yeah. Mitchell is consistently put out results with Giro, so I would not be remotely surprised if he comes out.
I wonder if Mr. DeWalt will still be running Eraser Head 1, or if he'll go back to Momo for the last time he can play it.
Yeah, I
Last
guess
time
on
I
that,
could play
like,
Eraserhead.
how do we feel about Eraserhead, right? Like he's always been a bit of a boogeyman, but like, do we feel he's good at the moment?
No reason why he isn't,
Hmm.
really. I think I would in an LCQ environment, I would certainly continue playing the kicks list over the punch one. The kicks list has more win by force capability. Doesn't need to like draw the nuts to put that together.
Hmm.
And the kicks Eraserhead is a very funny thing where, you know, it's a statement about CCG bandwagons and communities, especially, you know, when your game has, you know, a few thousand players or however many we have. Kicks Eraserhead did not suddenly become bad. He never became bad at any point in time.
No.
Just repeated 100 was really cool and flashy. And so everybody moved to that. It wasn't because that was actually a better deck than the Kicks build.
What about the Twisting Azure Death build?
I think that is not quite good enough right now. Just because I'm not sure how it will interact with the 6-handers that kill you.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the defensive options, right?
It has Val Seizing. That is its defense.
Yeah, and you could like water that down, right, to play more defense, but like at some point, why aren't you just playing a more traditional Eraserhead list?
Why aren't you playing Barrier Shield? Get on Void.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love Void Kicks just in general anyway, so...
And we did see Nate top 8 the Winter Warm-Up with the Void Kick Eraserhead package.
Yeah, Papa.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we can think about wrapping up sometime shortly, unless you guys have got anything else you wanted to bring up.
80 minutes.
It's been a longish stream, so I don't want to keep you guys around for too long.
No.
Well, yeah, it's late for you too, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's 10:30. This will be the last one we do before HLC. I might try and jump on like live from my mobile, but my flight is at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, so I'm gonna hotel the night before because I got to be at the airport.
Yeah,
at 4.
get that rest.
But yeah, big thanks to Pippa and Tim for joining us. It's a shame you're not going to be there, Pippa, and I'll see you at the. Hopefully you'll qualify, and I'll see you at the meal and on the Friday for the HLC.
Yeah, if I don't qualify, I'll just be trying to get board games going all weekend. The usual.
And you're jumping in Nick's cube.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess
I might play in retro.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of retro, I need to try and pick up some commons and uncommons because Murray, who is, as people know, is one of the old heads from Scotland, has put together a Dabby 1 reversal list for me because I just want to sit there and stack the the first enhances and then drop this reversal. It's got like plus 12.
Right?
Sure.
It's gonna be fun. It's not gonna win, but that one attack that just comes and goes, here's my plus 12 attack, let's go.
Well, I'm sure you could message Sean and he'll bring them all along with you.
I just need to check against my random pile comes and comes to see what I actually need. But big thanks to you guys being here. We'll have to try and get one of these again afterwards so we can see how our predictions did. For those who haven't already gone and checked out Pippa Ponders and Cetonis, they've got their own Yu Hakusho reveals as well. Pippa did some wonderful wonderful articles on Hawks 2.0.
No, this guy is sick. This is Mimic 3.0.
Mimic 3.0. And I forgot who Tim had.
I got a Karasu.
Yeah, you got Karasu, who is
you got terrorism guy.
You got
terrorism man.
Karasu, and if you've not checked ours, we got Chew, and there's a highlight on our YouTube of me just fully swigging down that bottle of Olga Killer, which people have said is what made the reveal. So I'm happy with that. But we'll end it. We'll end it there. Any last?
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Obviously, those watching in chat, thank you very much for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much as well. As usual, do all the things like, comment, subscribe. Go check out these other guys. like, comment, subscribe to all that stuff as well. And we will catch you next time.
Yeah, catch you on a bit. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.